question. That's good. Who's here to learn?
Right here.
Yeah.
How do
It isn't. Is it on? Brittany, I'm not really.
Yeah. Okay, we're good?
yeah.
That's why you couldn't hear me, right? Who's here to learn? Okay, good. That's why I'm here. I'm here to learn. This is something that I'm very, very passionate about. I love being up on stage and talking to people like you that really want to learn and want to develop, want to grow. And so I have ambitions to be a life coach, motivational speaker. And so my name really is Riker Smith. I'm a freshman here at BYU, Idaho, and this is my second semester. And I've done a lot of life coaching things in the past. I've done a few conferences down in Utah, and it's really just something that I love. But with all of that ambition, with that process of becoming, there's always been something that I feel has held me back. And I'm sure that you guys can relate in some sort of way. That you might have a passion or an ambition or a dream that you have, but something, some way keeps you from making those steps toward it. Okay, so I'm going to share what exactly that is, but first I'm going to tell you a fact. For 99.9% of all human history, teenagers did not exist. Wasn't a thing. Okay? And there's a book called Do Hard Things. It's by Brett and Alex Harris, two teenagers, if I might add, when they wrote the book. But they stated that the first appearance of teenagers, the word teenager, was in 1941 in a Reader's Digest. That was the first appearance. Before that, there was only two things. There was a child and an adult, nothing in between. A child and an adult. And so with that what's the word? Presentation, I guess, of this new social aspect, this thing in between the child and the adult, it created a new social impact on that age group, right? And this is what it is. Expectations. There was a new expectation that was introduced to people our age. And I know that most of us in this room are not teenagers, right? We're in college, right? But those expectations that we had as a teenager affects us as young adults more than anything. Because we still have those expectations for ourselves. So when I talk about teenagers, when I talk about young adults, I mean us. And so, society's view on young adults really has imprisoned us with low expectations. And I'll tell you why. I'll compare some people before 1941 that had more of an adult expectation on them, and with the difference there. And compare this, of course, to the people that we are now in the 21st century, and how different we are with those lower expectations that society has set. And then finally, why it's so important right now to do something about it. So first off, to give you a little perspective, in 1941, think of your great-great-grandfather. Some of you might still have him alive. He was never a teenager, ever. The word didn't exist back then. And so he had this adult expectation that we are often lacking in this period of time. And so, looking at a few people before 1941 or before 1900s that had this adult expectation of what they did with it. First one was George Washington. At the age of 17, he was the official surveyor of Virginia, the whole state. And then, of course, he later on became president of the United States. Second one was Clara Barton. At 14 years old, she was a nurse, a certified nurse at 14. And later, she founded the Red Cross. Then we have David Farragut. At age 12, he was given command of a ship. And later became the first admiral in the U.S. Navy. With those adult expectations, these kids or teenagers rose above and acted like adults in all of their capacity. And so if we look a little closer to home, the book that I mentioned, the authors Alex and Brett Harris, at age 16, these teenagers, they were campaign directors for Alabama Supreme Court Justice. They ran his campaign at 16 years old. And of course, if we look in the scriptures, or in the Book of Mormon, we know a man named Mormon, who was put in charge of armies at age 16. Now I know the Lord had high expectations for us. So what changed? What changed with society's view on young adults? And I think I agree with what these authors share in where it all started. In the early 1900s, we may be familiar with child labor, where kids and teenagers worked for a living. It was part of the social norm. It wasn't until the child labor laws were presented did that change. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, and I'm not saying we should change anything about that. But I do say that there has been some negative side effects to those child labor laws, in the sense that teenagers, with the exaggeration of no work until we're older, that we're really not even allowed to, it's created a society of consumers and not producers. We take and we take and we take and we take, and we don't give back. We are consumers. And that has created a society where people see us as lazy, cynical, entitled, spoiled, and carefree. A consumer that does not produce. And so as you can see, this expectation that is honest, this expectation specifically not yet has been placed on us. This not yet expectation means that we're not old enough yet. We don't know enough yet. We don't know enough people yet. We can't accomplish anything, so we don't. That not yet expectation keeps us from the very things that we're capable of, and we were capable of 100 years ago. So with that not yet expectation, if you Google search teenager, it's coupled with a lot of expectations that society has. Some Google searches would be teens and cell phones, teens and smoking, teens and alcohol, teens and video games. And of course, we see all that in the college life as well as young adults. But because of that society, because of society's view on that, we believe that as long as we aren't doing those things, we're okay. As long as we're not drinking alcohol, spending too much time on our cell phone or video games, we're doing okay. We've met the expectations, and that's all anybody ever expects of us. So we're doing okay. But what happens to us when those small and low expectations are given to us for a long period of time? What happens? So there was a study done by Destin Sandlin where he made a backwards bike. As you can see in the picture, there's a gear that he placed on the bike where instead of turning right to go right, you turn right to go left, and vice versa. And so as you're riding the bike, you have to do the opposite of whatever you would do on a normal bike. And being an adult, as you can see he is, he's ridden a normal bike for quite some time. So he decided to time himself, see how long it would take for him to learn to ride this bike in a different way. And so the time that it took him was over 3 months to ride just a short distance. 3 months to ride a short distance on this new bike where he could stand upright. Then he gave it to his son. It didn't take him 3 months. It took him 2 weeks to learn the same principles that he did, and to learn a backwards bike. And so this emphasizes that the younger we are, the more impressionable we are, and the older we are, the less impressionable we are. It's harder for us to learn new things, to change direction, to apply those principles that will help us to be successful. And so the longer we wait, the harder it is. 1 Corinthians 13:11, Paul states that when I became a man, I put away childish things. You notice that anywhere in the Bible, that nowhere in the Bible is the word teenager. It's always adult or child. And Paul emphasizes when he's not a child, he needs to put away childish things to become an actual adult. And that's, again, the Lord's expectation. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we have those expectations on us. Right? We grew up with it. We had really no choice. But we do have a choice to be powerful and to create different expectations, to rise above those things. We have to surround ourselves, first of all, by people with higher expectations, right? People like George Washington, like David, like Clara, that will think of us as something more than we do, or society does. We have to set goals and expectations for ourselves. We have to produce instead of just consume. We have to give back instead of just take. And then we have to do it now, before it gets too difficult to change, too hard to move, too long to make those changes necessary. And so, lastly, 1 Timothy 4:12 says, "Let no man despise thy youth. Let no one set those expectations for you as a teenager, as a young adult, as a person. Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers." Thank you.